The emergency sirens blared across the United Nations Space Command headquarters in Geneva. It was 3 a.m. when Commander William Carter burst into the control room, still adjusting his uniform. The massive wall screen displayed an unprecedented sight. A fleet of unidentified vessels hurtling towards our solar system. "What's their speed?" Carter's voice was steady, belying his pounding heart. "Faster than anything we've ever tracked, sir," Lieutenant Olivia Grant responded, her fingers dancing across the console. "They'll reach Pluto's orbit in 6 days." Carter took a deep breath. After decades of searching, alien life had found them instead, and it was approaching rapidly. "Transmit the first contact message we prepared," he commanded, "and ready the USS Horizon for launch in 3 hours." Within a day, every news outlet on Earth showed the same images. Strange ships, unlike anything humanity had ever built, heading straight for them. Some people panicked, others celebrated, most simply waited, wondering if they were about to meet friends or foes from beyond the stars. The USS Horizon was humanity's most advanced and swiftest vessel. As Commander Carter boarded with his crew of 50 specialists, he knew they were making history. Captain Maria Sanchez, the ship's science officer, walked beside him. "Do you think they'll be peaceful?" she asked softly. Carter looked at her. "I hope so, but we're bringing weapons just in case." The journey to the edge of the solar system took the Horizon only 2 days thanks to its new fusion drives. As they neared the alien fleet, Carter ordered the ship to slow. "Send the greeting message again," he instructed Communications Officer Jack Rivera. "All frequencies." They waited for what felt like hours. Then the screen flickered. The alien that appeared resembled a fish with limbs. Its skin was blue and shimmering, and it possessed large black eyes that blinked horizontally. Water bubbled around it. "We are the Valori," it announced in flawless English, its voice surprisingly melodic. "I am Ambassador Zath Noir. We seek safe passage through your system." Carter stepped forward. "I am Commander William Carter of Earth. We welcome you to our solar system and offer friendship." The alien ambassador blinked again. "We accept your welcome, but we must inform you of our reason for travel. We flee from death itself." Over the next few hours, the Valori detailed their predicament. They were escaping something they called the Devourers, a swarm of machines that awakened every 10,000 years to obliterate advanced civilizations. According to Zet Noir, these machines had already annihilated 17 species in their region of the galaxy, and now they come here, the ambassador concluded. Earth lies directly in their path. "How much time do we have?" Carter asked. 6 of your months, perhaps less. We offer to share our technology if you grant us safe passage beyond your system." Captain Sanchez furrowed her brow as she analyzed the data the aliens had shared. Something felt off. When the meeting concluded, she pulled Commander Carter aside. "Sir, I need to show you something," she said, leading him to the science lab. On her screen were images of several star systems. "These are places the Valori said they passed through. Look at the before and after scans they included in their data package." Carter examined them closely. The before images depicted vibrant planets rich with resources. The after images showed the same planets utterly depleted. "They're taking everything they can from each system they pass through," Sanchez observed. "Metals, gases, everything useful. They're leaving ecological disasters behind them." Carter's face hardened. "Set up another meeting with the ambassador. Now." When Zath Noir reappeared on screen, Carter dispensed with pleasantries. "Ambassador, we've seen what your fleet does to the systems you traverse. You're not just refugees. You're stripping planets bare." The alien's colors shifted slightly, a ripple of darker blue passing across its skin. "We take what we need to survive," Zath Noir stated. "The Devourers leave nothing. Would you prefer we perish?" "I'd prefer the truth," Carter countered. "Are the Devourers real?" The alien was silent for a long moment. "Yes, they are very real, but there is more to our story." What the Valori revealed next changed everything. The Devourers were an ancient machine intelligence, created millions of years ago by a now extinct species. Every 10,000 years they awoke and moved through the galaxy, destroying any civilization that had reached a certain level of technology. "But the truth you sensed," Zath Noir admitted, "is that no species fights them. All run as we do. We take resources because we never stop running." When the Horizon returned to Earth 3 days later, they brought the Valori ambassador with them. In a special session of the United Nations, HFY addressed the world's leaders. Your species now faces the same choice all others have faced, the alien stated. You can flee as we do, or you can be destroyed. There is no third option. The following week was chaotic. More alien ships arrived. Not just Valori, but others. The Krell, tall reptilian warriors with scaled skin. The Luminari, beings of semi-solid light who communicated in harmonies. All recounted the same tale. They were fleeing the Devourers, and Earth should do the same. A settlement quickly arose on the moon dubbed Haven, where alien diplomats gathered. They offered to help evacuate humans who wished to leave, promising safe worlds beyond the Devourer's path. Carter watched from his office window as people in the streets below argued and protested. Some wanted to depart with the aliens. Others insisted on staying. His phone rang. It was General Lisa Chen, the youngest general in UNC history. "Commander, I need you at Pentagon Base now," she said. "I think we have another option." When Carter arrived, Chen stood before a massive 3D map of the solar system. "Everyone runs from these Devourers," she stated without greeting him. "But what if we didn't? What if we made our stand here?" Carter looked at her, surprised. "The aliens say no one has ever beaten them." "No one has ever tried," Chen replied. "At least that's what I think. These aliens, they've been running so long it's all they know how to do." She pointed to the map. "Earth is in a perfect position. We have resources. We have the asteroid belt for cover. We have gas giants we can use tactically. We could set a trap." Carter stared at the map, then at Chen's resolute face. "The aliens will think we're crazy." "Maybe we are," she said with a small smile. "But I'd rather die fighting than running forever." 2 days later, the United Earth government voted on their response to the Devourer threat. Despite the warnings from every alien species, despite the fear, they made their choice. Earth would not run. Earth would stand and fight. When Carter informed Ambassador Zaltnoir of the decision, the alien's skin turned almost white with shock. "This has never happened before," the Valori said quietly. "You understand you are choosing extinction?" Carter stood tall, his eyes clear and determined. "No, we're choosing to fight for our home, and maybe, just maybe, we'll win." The ambassador was silent for a long moment. "Then we will watch, Commander Carter, and we will remember humanity's courage, however brief it may be." The moon had never been so bustling. In the weeks following Earth's decision to confront the Devourers, Haven transformed from a small diplomatic outpost into a vibrant alien city. Over 30 different species now resided in the domed settlement, their unusual buildings rising from the lunar surface like a collection of eclectic toys. Commander Carter walked through Haven's main plaza, attracting curious glances from aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some appeared almost human. Others were so peculiar he couldn't discern their front from their back. All were refugees, and all believed humans were making a grave error. "Commander, please wait," a voice called out behind him. Carter turned to see Zaltnoir gliding toward him in a water-filled mobility suit. The Valori ambassador's blue skin looked paler than usual. "The Krell High Commander has arrived," Zaltnoir announced. "He wishes to speak with Earth's leaders immediately." The Krell were among the most formidable species among the refugees. They stood over 7 feet tall with thick scales and yellow glowing eyes. They were natural warriors, yet even they fled the Devourers. In the main meeting hall, High Commander Drather of the Krell stood with his arms crossed. Beside him floated a Luminari elder, a being of light that shifted between purple and gold hues. "So these are the humans who would fight what cannot be defeated," Drather rumbled, his voice so deep Carter felt it in his chest. "You are either very brave or very foolish." "Maybe a bit of both," Carter replied calmly. "But we've made our decision." The Luminari elder moved forward, her light dimming slightly. When she spoke, it sounded like many voices singing in unison. "We have brought our historical records to share with you," she said. "I am Elder Seraphia. Please observe." The room lights dimmed and a hologram materialized in the center. It displayed planets being obliterated, civilizations falling, and fleets of strange ships in frantic retreat. The Devourer ships resembled metallic insects, black, sharp, and terrifying. 17 civilizations have fallen, Seraphia stated. Some fought briefly. All were destroyed. The machines cannot be stopped. General Lisa Chen stepped forward. Unlike Carter, who sought diplomacy, Chen had little patience for alien warnings. "With respect, Elder, these records show isolated stands, not coordinated defense, no unified strategy." She pointed to one of the images. This species tried to fight alone with no preparation. Drather's eyes narrowed. And you think you can do better? I know we can, Chen said firmly. Because we're not running. We're planning. And we have something none of those other species had. And what is that? The Krell commander asked. Chen smiled slightly. We have nothing to lose. In the following days, representatives from Earth met with the alien coalition. Dr. Alan Wright, Earth's leading physicist, collaborated with alien scientists to understand the Devourer's technology from the limited data available. Their ships communicate using quantum entanglement, Dr. Wright explained to a room full of military officers and scientists. But there's a pattern to it, a vulnerability we might exploit. While the scientists worked, millions of humans accepted the aliens' offer to evacuate. Daily ships departed Earth carrying families who chose to flee rather than fight. Carter couldn't blame them. He watched from the observation deck as another transport departed. Do you think they're making the right choice? Asked a voice beside him. Carter turned to see Maria Sanchez. She had been working nonstop, analyzing alien biology and technology. I don't know if there is a right choice, he said honestly. But someone has to stay and fight or we'll all just be running forever. Sanchez nodded. I found something interesting in the Valori data. The Devourer ships are partially biological. They repair themselves using materials from planets they destroy. Can we use that against them? Maybe, she said. I'm working with some luminary scientists. They understand biological systems better than we do. On Earth, things were changing rapidly. The United Earth government declared a global state of emergency. Factories shifted from manufacturing cars and computers to producing weapons and ships. The world's militaries united under a single command structure, with General Chen at the helm. In orbit around Mars, a massive construction project began. Victor Rodriguez, Earth's wealthiest man, had directed his company's resources toward building defensive platforms. If we're going to fight, we need to fight smart, Rodriguez told the UNC Council. These platforms will be hidden on the dark side of Mars. The Devourers won't see them until it's too late. But not everyone supported Earth's decision to stand and fight. Former Admiral Paul Bennett led a growing movement that believed resistance was futile. We should be evacuating everyone, Bennett shouted at a public forum. Not throwing lives away in a battle we cannot win. His words fueled protests in major cities, some turning violent. In Chicago, a group attempted to seize a spaceport to force more evacuations. UNC troops had to restore order. In Haven, Commander Carter was surprised when a Krell warrior requested to speak with him privately. The alien named Gra was even larger than his high commander. I wish to stay and fight with humans, Gra declared without preamble. Carter blinked in surprise. Your people are leaving. Yes, but I disagree with running. I am a warrior. I should fight. The Krell thumped his chest. Others feel the same. Not many, but some. That same day, a luminary physicist named Alori approached Dr. Wright. Her light was a steady blue, the color of resolve. Your calculations interest me, she said. I believe your theory about overloading their quantum communication may work. I wish to help. Slowly, a small group of aliens chose to remain with the humans. Not many, just a handful from each species, but enough to bring valuable knowledge and skills. 4 months before the Devourers were expected to arrive, General Chen convened a meeting of Earth's Defense Council. The room was tense as she stood before the 3D map of the solar system. The asteroid belt will be our first line of defense, she explained. We've placed engines on hundreds of large asteroids. When activated, they'll create a moving minefield. She pointed to Jupiter and its moons. Our second line is here. We've placed stealth platforms around Europa, and our main fleet will wait near Mars, hidden from direct scans. Admiral Bennett, still part of the council despite his protests, shook his head. This is madness. We're talking about fighting an enemy that has destroyed 17 civilizations. Chen looked at him steadily. Yes, and they've never faced humanity before. Later that night, Commander Carter found himself unable to sleep. He walked to the observation deck and looked out at Earth, blue and peaceful from space. How much longer would it remain that way? Beautiful, isn't it? Said a voice. Carter turned to see Ambassador Zath Noir. Yes, it is, Carter agreed. I have lived for 120 of your years, the Valori said. I have seen many worlds, but I have never seen a species choose to fight when they could run. Carter looked at the alien. Is that why you're still here? To watch us fight? Partly, Xenoir admitted. But also, I wonder, what if you are right? What if the Devourers can be defeated? Then everything changes, Carter said simply. The ambassador's skin rippled with colors. Yes, everything. 3 months before the Devourers were expected, Earth became a planet of intense industry and preparation. Every factory worked day and night. Schools transformed into training centers. Farmland expanded to grow extra food. And in the skies above, new ships took shape, constructed with both human engineering and alien technology. Victor Rodriguez stood in his control room on Mars, watching as robotic arms assembled yet another defensive platform. His face looked weary. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night for weeks. That's Platform 58 complete, said his assistant Kelly Jones. We're ahead of schedule. Rodriguez nodded. Good. Start on the next one immediately. Back on Earth, Dr. Alan Wright worked with Alori, the luminary physicist, in a laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with strange equipment, some of it undeniably alien in design. The challenge, Dr. Wright explained to a group of engineers, is to create a device that can send a signal at exactly the right frequency to overload their quantum communication. One of the engineers frowned. But we've never even seen their technology up close. The Luminari have, Wright replied, nodding toward Alori, whose light pulsed a soft purple. They managed to recover fragments from a previous encounter. Alori floated forward. The Devourers use quantum entanglement to coordinate their ships. It makes them very effective in battle. But quantum systems are delicate. If we can create enough interference at the right frequency, we can blind them. Maybe not permanently, Wright finished, but long enough to give us an advantage. The engineers looked skeptical, but they set to work. They called the device they were building a quantum disruptor, though many doubted it would work. On the moon, Haven continued to grow as more alien refugees arrived. Most stayed only briefly before continuing their journey away from the Devourer's path. But the news that some aliens had chosen to stay and fight with the humans spread quickly. Commander Carter met with Gra, the Krell warrior, and 5 other aliens who had decided to remain. Alori, the luminary physicist, 2 Valori engineers, a reptilian Saurian combat specialist, and a small round alien called a Bondo, who specialized in communications. We need to coordinate our knowledge, Carter told them. Anything you know about the Devourer's tactics or weaknesses could save lives. Gra thumped his chest. Krell fought them briefly at the Riel system. Their ships hunt in packs like predators. They target command vessels first. The Saurian, whose name was Zix, nodded. They use scanning beams before attacking. Look for energy signatures, communication patterns. One of the Valori engineers added. Their outer hulls regenerate quickly. Sustained fire needed on same spot to cause damage. Carter took notes as they spoke, building a picture of their enemy. It wasn't much, but it was more than humanity had before. General Chen spent most of her time at the Global Defense Center in Colorado. The large underground facility buzzed with activity as military personnel from around the world worked together to prepare Earth's defenses. The asteroid minefield is almost complete, reported her assistant, Major Frank Diaz. Rodriguez's team has placed engines on over 500 large asteroids. When activated, they'll create a wall of moving rock. Chen nodded, studying the holographic display of the solar system. And our fleet? 217 combat vessels ready with another 83 in final stages of construction, plus the defensive platforms around Mars and Earth. Not enough, Chen said quietly. But it will have to do. Not everyone was focused on preparing for battle. Former Admiral Paul Bennett's movement had grown stronger. He led protests in major cities, demanding that more evacuation ships be made available. The aliens have offered to take us to safety, he shouted to a crowd in New York. Why are we staying to die? The tension culminated when Bennett and his followers attempted to seize control of the lunar shuttle port at Haven. They planned to force the alien coalition to provide more evacuation ships. Commander Carter received the alert while meeting with Ambassador Zith Noir. Bennett's group has taken the port control center, a security officer reported. They're armed. Carter moved quickly, gathering a team of UNC Marines, but when they reached the port, shots had already been fired. One of Bennett's followers had wounded a Krell guard. In the ensuing chaos, Carter found himself face to face with Bennett himself. The former admiral held a gun, his hand shaking. "You're dooming us all," Bennett said, his voice breaking. "We could save millions more if we focused on evacuation instead of this hopeless fight." Carter kept his voice calm. "Put the gun down, Paul. This isn't helping anyone." For a moment it seemed Bennett might shoot. Then his shoulders slumped. "I just want people to live." "So do I," Carter said. "That's why we're fighting." The conflict at the port ended with Bennett and his followers arrested, but the incident left everyone shaken. That evening, Carter called a special broadcast to address both the people on Earth and the alien refugees. Standing before cameras that would transmit his image across the solar system, he spoke from the heart. "Today, we saw the cost of fear," he said. "I understand that fear. The Devourers have destroyed 17 civilizations. They've never been defeated. It would be easy to run." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "But if we all keep running, they will never stop. Someone has to make a stand, not just for humanity, but for every species that has lost their home, for every child who grew up on a refugee ship instead of under an open sky." His words reached the alien ships preparing to leave the solar system. On their screens, they saw this human speaking with simple conviction. "We do not ask anyone else to fight our battle," Carter continued. "But know this. When we stand against the Devourers, we stand for all of you too. And if, when we win, the stars will belong to the living again, not to machines." In their ships, some aliens listened with newfound interest. Others dismissed his words as the brave but foolish speech of a species about to perish. 2 months before the Devourers' arrival, Dr. Wright and Allori had a breakthrough with the quantum disruptor. In a test chamber, they successfully disrupted a quantum signal similar to what the Devourers used. "It works," Wright said, his voice filled with tired amazement. "Now we just need to make it powerful enough to affect their entire fleet." On Mars, Rodriguez's production reached its final stages. The defensive platforms were complete, hidden on the dark side of Mars and its moons. Now his factories began producing thousands of small automated drones. "They're not powerful," he explained to General Chen during a video call, "but they'll create confusion, make it harder for the Devourers to target our main ships." Chen nodded. "Every advantage helps. How many can you make before they arrive?" At current production, about 50,000. It wasn't enough. They all knew it wasn't enough. But day by day, piece by piece, humanity prepared for war. 1 month before the expected arrival, the last group of evacuees departed Earth. Those who remained had made their choice. They would stand and fight. They came like a storm of metal and darkness. The first sign was a disturbance at the edge of the solar system, near Pluto. Earth's long-range sensors detected them, thousands of ships moving faster than should be possible, their black hulls swallowing the light of distant stars. The Devourers had arrived. Commander Carter stood in the UN command center, watching the main screen as the enemy fleet approached. Beside him, General Chen's face was grim but determined. "All stations report ready," she said. "Defense grid is online and the asteroid belt engines are on standby." Carter nodded. "Send the signal to Rodriguez. All platforms to silent mode." On Earth, people gathered around screens and radios waiting for news. Many had moved to underground shelters, but some remained on the surface, unwilling to hide. Even now, in orbit around Jupiter's moon Europa, the first human outpost in the Devourer's path, Captain Steve Peterson and his crew of 30 watched their radar screens fill with approaching signals. "They'll be in range in 5 minutes, his first officer reported. "Order, sir." Peterson took a deep breath. "Send the signal, then prepare to evacuate." The signal was a simple data burst containing all the information they had gathered on the approaching fleet. As soon as it was sent, alarms blared throughout the station. "Everyone to the escape pods," Peterson ordered. Now, but it was already too late. The first wave of Devourer ships reached the station faster than expected. Black ships shaped like insects with sharp edges and strange glowing parts. Their weapons fired and Europa Station exploded in a ball of fire. Only 3 escape pods managed to launch. Back at Earth, the command center fell silent as Europa's signal went dead. "They took out the station in seconds," someone whispered. General Chen's voice cut through the fear. "Just as we expected. That's why we kept the station lightly defended. Now we know their first attack pattern." She turned to her officers. "Prepare for Phase 2. Get me Captain Walsh." The USS Defiance, commanded by Captain Gregory Walsh, waited with the main fleet near Mars. It was one of humanity's newest ships, specially modified for a single crucial mission. "The quantum disruptor is ready," Walsh reported when Chen contacted him. "Dr. Wright says it should work, but we need to get within 10,000 kilometers of their command ship." "You'll get your chance," Chen promised. "Wait for my signal." The Devourers moved through the outer solar system with frightening speed, destroying the few outposts in their path. They seemed unstoppable, just as the aliens had warned, but they had never faced a trap like the one humanity had prepared. As the enemy fleet approached the asteroid belt, General Chen gave the order. "Activate the asteroid engines." Now, in the belt between Mars and Jupiter, hundreds of massive rocks suddenly lit up with blue engine flares. The asteroids began to move, forming a shifting wall of stone in the Devourer's path. The enemy ships paused, as if confused by this unexpected obstacle. Then they began to fire, breaking apart the larger asteroids. But for each one they destroyed, the fragments became more obstacles, more weapons. "They're slowing down," reported Major Diaz. "The asteroids are working." But the celebration was short-lived. The Devourer ships adapted quickly, forming new patterns to navigate through the moving rocks. They were still coming, just more slowly now. In Haven on the Moon, the alien refugees who had chosen to remain watched the battle with a mixture of fear and hope. Ambassador Ziddish Noir's skin had turned a pale blue as he stood beside Gra, the Krell warrior. "They adapt quickly," the Valori said. "I have never seen anyone slow them down for so long, but they are still coming." Gra grunted. "Humans are clever. This is just the beginning." As the Devourers cleared the asteroid field, General Chen implemented the next phase of her plan. The human fleet, which had been waiting near Mars, suddenly broke formation. Ships scattered in all directions, appearing to flee in panic. "They're taking the bait," Chen said, watching the enemy fleet split up to pursue the apparently retreating human ships. "Just as you said, Gra, they hunt like predators," the Krell warrior nodded. "They cannot resist pursuing a fleeing enemy." This was the moment they had planned for. As the Devourer ships spread out, Rodriguez activated his hidden platforms on the dark side of Mars. Weapons rose from the surface of the red planet, targeting the now dispersed enemy ships. At the same time, thousands of small drones launched from bases on Mars's moons, swarming around the Devourer vessels like angry bees. They were too small to do much damage, but they confused the enemy's sensors, making it harder for them to track the human ships. In the chaos, Captain Walsh saw his opportunity. The USS Defiance, using its advanced stealth systems, slipped through the battle toward the center of the Devourer fleet. There, larger than the others, was what they believed to be the command ship. "Charge the quantum disruptor," Walsh ordered. "Prepare for close approach." On the bridge of the Defiance, Dr. Wright worked frantically at a console, making final adjustments to his device. Beside him, Alori's light pulsed with nervous energy. "It needs to be precise," she reminded him. "Too strong, and it could affect our ships, too." Wright nodded. "I know. Trust me." The Defiance moved closer to the massive Devourer command ship, using the battle around them as cover. They were almost in range when a Devourer patrol ship spotted them. "We've been detected," shouted the sensor officer. "Enemy ship on approach." Walsh made a quick decision. "Ramming speed." "Get us as close as possible to the command ship." The Defiance's engines flared as it accelerated directly toward the massive enemy vessel. The patrol ship fired, hitting their engines. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "We're losing power," reported the engineer. "We can't maintain this course for long." Walsh looked at Dr. Wright. "How close do we need to be?" Wright checked his readings. "Closer." "We're not there yet." The ship shuddered as another blast hit them. Systems failed across the bridge. They were running out of time. "All crew to escape pods," Walsh ordered. Then he turned to Wright and Alori. "Can you set the disruptor to activate on impact?" Wright's face paled as he understood what the captain was suggesting. "Yes, but that means—" "I know what it means," Walsh said quietly. "Do it." As the crew evacuated, Walsh stayed at the helm, manually guiding the damaged ship toward its target. Wright and Alori worked quickly to reconfigure the quantum disruptor before boarding the last escape pod. "It's set," Wright told the captain over the comm. "It will release a pulse that should disrupt their entire network." Walsh nodded. "Get out of here and Doctor, make sure this works." The escape pods launched, speeding away from the doomed ship. On the bridge, now empty except for Captain Walsh, warning lights flashed as the Defiance closed in on the Devourer command ship. "Let's see how you like fighting blind," Walsh whispered as his ship crashed into the enemy vessel. The explosion was small compared to the size of the Devourer ship, but seconds later, a strange pulse of energy spread outward from the point of impact. It wasn't visible to the human eye, but its effect was immediate. Across the battlefield, the Devourer ship suddenly stopped moving in formation. Some drifted aimlessly. Others began firing in random directions. The carefully coordinated enemy swarm had become a collection of confused individual ships. For the first time in recorded history, the Devourers were vulnerable. For several precious minutes, the Devourer ships drifted in confusion. Their perfect formation broken, their coordinated attacks now random and scattered. In the UNESCO Command Center, General Chen didn't waste a second. "All ships attack now. Focus fire on the larger vessels," she ordered. The human fleet regrouped with incredible speed. Ships that had appeared to flee now turned and charged toward the enemy. Weapons fired from every angle, targeting the suddenly vulnerable Devourers. In Haven on the moon, the alien refugees watched in stunned silence. None of them had ever seen the Devourers confused before. None had ever witnessed them taking heavy damage. "It's working," Ambassador Zatnoir whispered, his skin rippling with colors of excitement. "The humans' plan is actually working." Gra, the Krell warrior, watched the battle on the screen, his yellow eyes narrowed. "The disruption won't last long. Devourers will adapt. Always do." He was right. After 7 minutes of chaos, the enemy ships began to move with purpose again. A new pattern formed, different from before but still coordinated. They had found another way to communicate. "They're regrouping," Major Diaz reported. "The quantum disruption is wearing off." General Chen nodded grimly. "We knew it wouldn't last forever, but we've hurt them. Now move to Phase 3. In space near Mars, the human fleet pulled back, forming a defensive line. Behind them, Rodriguez activated the final layer of defenses. Massive energy cannons hidden on Mars and its moons began firing at the approaching Devourer ships, creating a wall of energy that the enemy had to push through. On the main screen, Commander Carter watched as the Devourers adjusted their approach. They were moving more cautiously now, no longer assuming an easy victory. "They've never been hurt like this before," Carter said. "They don't know what to expect from us anymore." But the Devourers were still advancing. Despite humanity's best efforts, despite the traps and weapons and sacrifices, the enemy fleet was slowly pushing toward Earth. The human ships fought bravely, but for each Devourer vessel they destroyed, another took its place. Dr. Wright, who had been rescued along with a lorry from the Defiance's escape pods, worked frantically on a new idea. "The quantum disruption worked, but they adapted too quickly," he explained to Commander Carter. "We need something more permanent." A lorry's light pulsed with intensity. "If we could access their central programming, we might be able to shut them down completely." "And how do we do that?" Carter asked. "Their command ship is in the middle of their fleet." Before anyone could answer, an alert sounded. New ships were approaching from the outer system, but they weren't Devourers. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the incoming vessels. It's the Valori fleet. They're coming back." On screen, dozens of blue Valori ships appeared, followed by the angular vessels of the Krell and the shimmering crafts of the Luminari. The alien refugees were returning. Ambassador Zetnoir's voice came through the speakers. "Commander Carter, General Chen, the Valori High Council has made a decision. We will not run anymore. We will fight alongside humanity." One by one, the leaders of other alien species made the same declaration. The Krell, the Luminari, the Saurians, and others all had chosen to return and join the battle. "Your courage has shown us the error of our ways," said the Luminari elder Seraphia. "For 10,000 years we have fled from the Devourers. Today, we stand with humanity." With the alien ships joining the fight, the battle shifted. The Devourers now faced opponents with different technologies, different tactics. It confused them, slowed their advance, but they were still coming. In a desperate planning session, Commander Carter, Dr. Wright, and representatives from each alien species searched for a final solution. "We need to get to their core programming," Alori insisted. "It's the only way to stop them permanently." Grok grumbled his agreement. "Need a boarding party. Fight through to their central control." "That's suicide," Carter said. We can't even get close to their command ship. Zet Noir moved forward, his water suit humming softly. The Valerie ships are faster than anything you have. We can get a small team close enough. The plan came together quickly. A joint human-alien team would board the Devourer command ship. Dr. Wright and Alori would try to access the core programming while soldiers, both human and alien, protected them. Commander Carter insisted on leading the mission himself. "This is our one chance," he told General Chen when she objected. "I need to be there." The boarding party gathered on the Valori ship Swift Current. 12 beings from 6 different species, all prepared to risk everything. Each carried weapons, and Dr. Wright brought a special device designed to interface with the Devourer systems. "We may not come back from this," Carter told them. "But if we succeed, we end the Devourer threat forever." The Swift Current moved with incredible speed, slipping through gaps in the enemy formation. Other ships, human and alien alike, created a diversion, drawing attention away from the small Valori vessel. They reached the massive Devourer command ship during the heaviest fighting. Using a cutting tool designed by the Saurans, they burned through the outer hull and entered. Inside, the ship was like nothing they had ever seen. It was both mechanical and biological, with pulsing tissues alongside metal components. Strange devices moved through corridors, ignoring the boarding party at first. "They don't recognize us as a threat," Wright whispered. "Their internal sensors must be programmed differently." They moved deeper into the ship, following Alori's readings toward what she believed was the central control room. Twice they had to fight security drones, losing 3 team members in the process. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the ship. In the center stood a column of swirling energy with countless data streams flowing in and out. "That's it," Alori said, her light pulsing with excitement. "The core programming." Dr. Wright moved forward with his device, but security systems finally recognized the intrusion. Mechanical defenders emerged from walls and floors, attacking the team. "Hold them off," Carter ordered, firing at the approaching machines. "Give Wright and Alori time." A desperate battle erupted in the chamber. Human and alien fought side by side against the Devourer defenses. Gra roared as he smashed machines with his bare hands. A Valori engineer used water pressure as a weapon, shorting out enemy systems. At the central column, Wright and Alori worked frantically to connect their device. "I'm in," Wright shouted finally. "I'm accessing their core programming." What they found shocked them. The Devourers hadn't been created to destroy civilizations. They had been created to protect them. Their original programming, written millions of years ago, was meant to prevent conflicts between species by removing dangerous technology. But over time, the programming had corrupted. What was meant to guide had become a force of destruction. "We can reset them," Alori said, her light flickering with hope. "Return them to their original purpose." Wright shook his head. "Too risky. We need to shut them down completely." As they argued, Carter fought his way to their side. "Do both," he ordered. "Shut them down, but preserve their original programming for study. We need to make sure this never happens again." Working together, human and luminary, they rewrote the core protocols. Throughout the Devourer fleet, ships suddenly stopped moving. Weapons powered down. The attack was over. When Commander Carter and the surviving members of the boarding party returned to Earth, they were greeted as heroes, not just by humans, but by representatives of every alien species. In the weeks that followed, a new alliance formed. The United Galactic Council, they called it, with Earth as its center. Not because humans were the strongest or the smartest, but because they had been the first to stand and fight. "What comes next?" Ambassador Zet Noir asked Carter as they stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Carter smiled. "We rebuild. We explore. We make sure the Devourers never threaten anyone again. And we do it together," the ambassador added. "Yes," Carter agreed. "Together." In the darkness of space, the Devourer fleet drifted silent and powerless, a reminder of what happens when fear rules unchallenged. And in its place, a new understanding grew among the species of the galaxy. When every other species fled, humanity stood and fought. And in doing so, they changed everything.